You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Ian Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, this is AFTERBUZZ TV for Californication. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest Californication news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, picking up where the show leaves off, and the buzz continues.
Thank you, Sir Richard Wentworth. How are you guys? This is Phil Svitek, and for those of you who listened to us last season, I had to get my other fabulous co-host of that season, Keven Undergaro. He had a great opinion last season, and I knew I had to get him on. Fortunately, he couldn't be in studio tonight, so he's calling in. Kev, are you there?
Oh yes, I am so here, so excited to be here, and I'm just glad that I'm doing episode 2. Wasn't crazy about episode 1 of this season, but I'm totally sucked in now.
Well,
very excited.
Why is that? You thought are you seeing now that the stuff they might have implanted in episode 1 that may have seemed boring are now coming to fruition, or what is the reason behind that?
You know, it was just a jump in time.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, you know, the baby, Runkle's the baby's grown up. It was just, I don't know, so much had happened. I mean, that I didn't quite buy. I mean, even Runkle and Marcy kind of seemed like they were rekindling, and you know, she's with the producer, and you know, Hank, who was last time we left off, was very heartbroken over Karen, and now he's, you know, kind of okay with her, just falling all over this other guy, and it's just really hard because we didn't get the privilege to see any arcs to get us there. So I get like that, okay, so much time could have gone by and this could have all happened, but as a viewer, it was just very difficult to see, to jump into all these other relationships so far advanced and so far away from, you know, what we saw at the end of last season. I mean, him and Karen, it was very upsetting for him and for her. And the same thing with Runkle and Marcy.
You know what's
they were just,
what's weird to me is that you're breaking it down from a very artistic standpoint. From what I've found on Twitter and things like that, is that people were surprised that they took that jump. They weren't expecting it. And it's weird to me because, I mean, I guess I've been spoiled in a way, but, you know, all the advertisements leading up, at least I thought, were, you know, this is going to be 3 years from now. And, you know, at first, we interviewed Evan Handler, who plays Runkle at the Emmys gifting suites, and he made this thing and, you know, said that that's how the season's going to be. And we thought we had this huge exclusive. And lo and behold, you know, that's how I found out there was so much advertising for this. And so I'm really surprised to see that fans are like, wait, it's 3 years ahead, but I guess you know.
Hearing about it's one. No, again, my point is this: hearing about it is one thing, but I feel like what was abrupt was the fact that there was no indication to me that this is where we'd be in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's what was just, I think, hard.
Well,
to deal with.
Well, why don't we talk about Runkle and his kind of world? As last episode, they said it best. I think it was Hank who said it. You know, Runkle's always good for a laugh, and he certainly is. We've said that too. And so I love now that he has to, instead of dealing with Hank, he has to now deal with his kid and what the kid's causing. And ironically enough, they're problems that Hank would probably get into too. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think now that, and that's what I'm saying. Now that I'm you know, the first episode was just kind of traumatic, but now that I'm over that and sitting through this one, now that I'm in that world and I'm comfortable with it, I'm back. I'm back in love with it, and I love Runkle. I think he's hilarious, and I mean, just the subtle comedy that he delivers, you know, for his little masturbation scene, and then he's still carrying the paper towel he used to clean himself.
Oh, absolutely.
As he's talking to the nanny, I mean, just hilarious.
By the way, I loved how he actually was getting off to the fact that, you know, she was yelling at him. That to me was just so funny. Like, he actually,
oh yeah,
that's what turned him on.
Yeah, he's just so wonderfully sick. It's amazing. It's just amazing how perverted, and I love his character. I'm a big fan.
And I love how he's the sort of, despite the sickness, he's the sort of humane one in thinking like, you know, you're searching for a nanny, and yet why wouldn't I be consulted? I'm the kid's father, you know. So I love there's a sickness, but a humanity intertwined.
Well, you know, I mean, the fact that what's the kid doing? He exposed himself. It's just hilarious.
Do you think he picked that up from Runkle, or just everything? I mean, he's certainly been exposed to. Yeah.
You know, I don't know if that's, you know, who knows if they're gonna go in that direction. I don't know. I don't know if they thought about it any more than the fact that it's just very funny. And again, the Runkle character is so funny that I don't think they're thinking very deeply. It's just that I just feel like he's getting us to laugh. Always the tramp stamp. I wonder if, like, the writers have an inside joke where it's like, how many episodes will they show the tramp stamp? But it's Runkle.
Yeah. Now,
he's
not to get into too much predictions, but in terms of the new nanny that he sort of hires, or hopefully is now hired, do you think he has a thing for her? Will it work out? What sort of seeds did you see planted in this episode?
For what? So what was...
for the girl he hands his cum paper towel to, and who doesn't know what it is, and then she uses it, and it's the girl, it's the nanny that worked for the girl, and then now works for him.
Well, she looked at the end. She kind of looked at the paper towel and was a little bit like, "What am I doing?" You know, like, why am I wiping my face? But who knows? It could very well be like, why am I leaving this one sick lady to go work for this sick guy?
Wow,
you know?
I didn't even look at it like that.
The show's very clever. You know, Tom Copino, you know, we talked about it, me and Stu, all last season, but, you know, very funny show, but very smart show, too.
Yeah, I certainly didn't look at it like that. But I'm I'm certainly interested to see how that turns out. Now, speaking of...
oh, yeah, no, I think, you know, yeah, it's going to be a mess. You know he's going to hit on her. You know it's like it's going to make Marcy jealous. And I don't think you've seen the end of the blonde lady either.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly love... Every situation Runkle just so doesn't want to be in, and yet it just... Obviously, it just fulfills another sick, twisted fantasy in his mind, and that in the end, that's how he got to 100. I think, you know, it just all situations he didn't necessarily want to be a part of, but he's like, all right, yeah, let's do it. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's hard because I just continue to repeat myself and mark out on Runkle because I love him. I think he's great, and like you said, we met him last year at the Emmys gift suites, and it was so great to talk to him. And I had to ask him. I said, you know, are you and Dave Duchovny like super close? He's like, well, we're friends. He's like, we get along. But it seemed to me like it wasn't like that they were blood brothers. But he had asked why I'd asked that, and I said, because your chemistry is so amazing. But again, it goes back to the old story between Dustin Hoffman and Sir Laurence Olivier, and it's a long story. I don't want to get into it, but at the end, Sir Lawrence Olivier had said to Dustin Hoffman, "Try acting, boy," and what it meant was, you don't need to be the character. If you're really an actor, you should be able to just act it. And so, I think that's what goes on with Evan Handler, who plays Ronco. He's just that great of an actor that he's playing this comedic role, and he's playing. He plays such a natural bond with Duchovny, and of course with Hank. And when you meet him, he's nothing like Ronco.
Yeah, I mean, he has such a what was the funniest bit?
I mean, his wife was a scientist, right? Remember, like the wife.
Yeah, that's what made it so hilarious. And he's such a quiet, nice guy. And, yeah, that's exactly where I was going. And if you watch that interview, it's such a genuine moment when he says, "My inspiration is my wife," or whatever. And she's such a humble person, and in many ways, he is too. So completely different.
So different.
Speaking of, why don't we get into Becca and her now boyfriend, which I said last episode, and I don't know if you'll agree with me on this one, but I said Becca has moved on from Hank and now moved on to basically Hank 2.0 with this boyfriend, and she doesn't know it.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And this is good writing, because it's been proven that there's a cycle involved when parents behave a certain way and raise their children. The children end up seeing that as they understand that this kind of love for this kind of person is the kind of love that you're supposed to have. Mm-hmm. So to have grown up loving Hank, then clearly she now loves Hank 2.0.
Yeah. I completely... Go ahead.
He made an interesting point, though. Hank did. It was something about there's guys who do that and can't help it or regret it, or I forget what he said, and then there's guys who are just douchebags. And I think that this guy is Hank 2.0, because I don't think he's Hank. I think Hank was a dick who kind of fell into things, but do you think that this kid is Hank?
I don't think he's completely like Hank. Let me ask you this: did you, when they were at the bar together, do you think the kid read Hank's book? Because for me, if he did, he completely misconstrued everything. Like, he didn't get the spirit. Californication is to me about a guy struggling to basically find his love for Karen, and yet through whatever trials and tribulations, he just can't do it. And most of them are, in fact, his own rather than the outside world. And I think I think that was the justification in this kid to say it to Hank, like, "Hey, you know what's up. You got to live life." And I think he was trying to use his own words against him, but he didn't get the spirit of what Hank really writes.
Right, typical young punk. He got the two-dimensional version. Mm-hmm. He's just basically using it as a rationale to be a dick and not give a shit about anyone and be out for himself.
Yeah.
And can I add one thing? And I hate to do this because I know we're a super fan network.
Go ahead.
Not really crazy about the acting on that guy.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. And
hopefully it'll improve, because when the company plays it, it's so natural and breezy, and then again lovable, because he has the advantage of his character's written lovable. This guy isn't written lovable. But I felt like he was struggling in this role. I think they could have cast it better. Mm-hmm. And maybe it'll get better as the weeks go on. I don't know. He was straining.
Yeah, I mean, you're much more better with that kind of stuff. For me, I sometimes put that stuff away in lieu of the writing, and I certainly loved the interaction with Hank, Becca, and him at the college, and Becca using everything against Hank, saying, "Hey, you slept with I forget the whole laundry list of things." And in comparison, all this kid's done is sleep with, an undergrad student while he was a graduate TA. So, I love how that's now going against Hank and and being used against him essentially, and by his own daughter too.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I think she had a great comeback and said, "Well, look what you did, when you were a teacher."
Yeah, yeah.
So, which is true. But I think, Becca had a great point saying, I know you're a jerk, but you're a good guy, basically, and this guy's the same way, and I want to believe her because she's a smart enough kid, it seems. And maybe this kid will show that he has something redeeming, although I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to show it. It was also interesting to see Karen know that she knew to not like the kid, but she's really kind of like staying out of it in a sense.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's weird. He's really on his own with this, and I don't know if I quite buy that. I also don't know do you buy that her new husband or new boyfriend would hate this kid so much and so passionately? I guess at first it seemed like a stretch, like, come on, are you really going to be this much of a step-in father to care this much about Becca? But now that I saw the whole episode, I guess I do buy it because the kid is such a dick.
Yeah.
That it's not so much for Becca, it's just that the kid's such a dick, he just wants to whack him. So,
yeah.
I guess I should answer my own question.
Yeah, I mean, I buy that that the stepdad feels that way, and for me, I guess the best way to describe Hank and and Becca's boyfriend is Hank's a self-loathing artist, whereas the other kid's just a player.
Yeah.
You know, and that.
Yeah, not exactly, not an artist, just a pseudo.
Yeah.
Just a poser.
So,
and by the way, do you think he's going to stay in L.A., don't you think, for the series, or are they going to take this back?
No.
This season, do they end up going to New York?
No, I don't think. I talked about this on our last episode. I think he's certainly not going back to New York. I think the burning down of his apartment was symbolic of the fact that, as much as he says he loves loves New York and wants to go back to New York, he just can't. And he really is, at this point, he embodies the spirit of California. Even down to the way he dresses. I don't think, like, if what I think of a typical New Yorker, he certainly doesn't dress that way, doesn't look that way, doesn't talk that way, doesn't act that way. He's much more of the laid-back kind of guy. And when I think of New York, I think of fast-paced city life. And I don't think that's really Hank. And so the burning of the apartment in last episode just solidified that, in every sense of the way.
Right.
And by the way, I loved. I don't know if you want to talk about this later. In what happened with Sam and now his or Hank rather, and his developing friendship with Samurai Apocalypse. But I loved the line that that the stepdad says to Hank and says, finally. I can't remember. Do you remember the line? It's the last line he says to Hank at their place. Finally, someone hated this guy enough to do something about it. Something like that. You remember what I'm talking about?
Who's yeah. The kind of the Karen's boyfriend.
Yeah, I'm trying to read my notes, but I only have it paraphrased.
It was some line, but it was very symbolic of Hank. Yeah, it definitely was ironic and had a double meaning to it. Damn, I'm sorry because I wasn't able to. But I thought of the same thing. I didn't know if I was going to call in and host tonight, so I apologize. But I did. I thought of the exact same line, and the director had a great shot of the stepfather's face as he said it with Hank in frame. And it was something that it related to Hank.
Yeah.
He finally got what was coming to him, and it seems like this is Hank getting what's coming to him. He doesn't have Karen. He his relation is not only his relationship strained with his daughter, but his daughter is actually dating him. And Old Man Look at My Life by Neil Young was playing, which of course is perfect because we know Hank is a classic music man, classic rock band, but also that's what that song's about. It's just like, you know, it's, oh man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you are, you know, so it's yeah, it was all perfect. And I think that chickens have come home to roost, so to speak, for that kind of behavior.
Yeah. And that's why I don't think, like, you know, you asked the question of him going back to New York. I don't think he can, because now, you know, he's got to collect, or, you know, he's got to pay up, rather, for everything that he's done. So, and the world, as it may be, will not let him leave L.A. until he does so.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
Well, speaking of people that won't let him leave or do anything, Samurai Apocalypse, you just won't take no for an answer. You're helping me with this movie. That's all you're doing.
Well, let's you know let's back up a little bit. It's a big coincidence that in this big giant city in L.A., Hank has fooled around with his girlfriend, gorgeous girl, great singer. I'm wondering, is the show, they have to be cynical, is the show trying to break another star? I know last year all we did was spend, a whole season listening to Becca and her music, and I feel as though, and I'm hoping, they responded to fans who were like, okay, enough.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want that forced down our throat, like Becca's friends, making them into characters. It's just...
I hope not. I hope not. I think with Becca, now that I look back on it, hopefully more wiser and older, but at least they laid out the groundwork for that to kind of happen. She's always been a fan of music, obviously, like Hank is. So I could see that kind of being the natural thought. Okay, let's give Becca and her band a shot at this. Whereas with this, obviously it's a totally new thing. So I really hope, and I don't think they will go down that route. And especially if after they did take that sort of heat, even though they had laid in that sort of groundwork, as it may be. So I don't. To answer your question, I don't think so. But why is that how you see it going?
I think they're gonna. I think they worked so hard to feature her singing the way she did sing.
Well, you know who that is, though, right?
No.
It's Megan Good. She's from BET's The Game.
Yeah, because the game's big on AfterBuzz.
It is.
She's a gorgeous girl and she's got a great voice. So I hope it just stays there, and can we just stick to the story? I'm really not interested in using the show to promote anyone else's career. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it's interesting how I thought they were part of the Mile High Club and that they banged. On 2 instances in dialogue, he said they made out.
Well, so wait, you thought they actually had sex because obviously that was broken up by the woman, the old woman who knocked on the bathroom. Right,
she got in there in time. Yeah, okay. I thought something had happened in enough time, but yeah.
But I guess it was kind of confusing. For the first episode, I kind of had to rewatch what exactly happened to fully get that, because it wasn't exactly made clear. They were kind of dancing around it, and I certainly don't think they had to. If they just made out, just say they made out. But in terms of that relationship with Samurai, obviously something's going to happen between Hank and Samurai because of this girl and that love triangle that they're developing.
It's going to go, yeah, it's going to be a clusterfuck. But here, can we... I have to say, I'm going to give a lot of credit to Tom Capinos again for this. I cannot believe the boldness and the courage for them to portray Samurai in the way they're portraying him.
Why is that?
They are so... Phil, I was shocked. about I thought the shooting in the
recording studio.
In the recording studio, I thought they were gonna be like, it's just ketchup, psych, white boy, like, because white people are so scared of like blacks, and we have all these like crazy stereotypes in our brains about them, and then the fact that that's so politically incorrect for today's television. To basically go and say, oh yeah, so that's what blacks do. All they do is smoke weed, have big posses, talk to girls and call them bitches, and carry guns, and play with them like they're toys. And when someone gets shot, it's like, yeah, get that nigga cleaned up and let's get back to it. I mean,
and by the way, I love the butler too. Like, how they got him. You got
I love it. I think it's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. And that part I liked. I mean, that part I'm not saying that's encouraging. That's just happens to fall into like great comedy. I'm saying I give him credit for having the courage to just say F it and go with this character. And if it's a stereotype, which they're doing to get laughs, great. But I'm surprised. I'm so surprised, though, that they're showing that they're portraying a black. They're hitting every stereotype with him. So all the way to the point that he has his boys rough up the boyfriend at the end.
Oh, I know.
I handled your problem. Now write my shit, or something like that.
Yeah.
Which, of course, the problem's not handled unless the guy's dead. It's not going to stop this, as we know from we'll talk about predictions. It's not going to stop. It's definitely only going to complicate things worse. But I'm just surprised, so again, that about the character of Samurai. And by the way, I do the white butler, and I do love seeing Hank, who is like the angry, somewhat bitter white guy, and I love seeing his black opposite. And as they're driving, and he's talking about how he hates rap, and Samurai's talking about how he hates classic rock. And they both give their reasons. He's like, hey, that actually kind of makes us a lot alike, which was kind of in a weird way, which I thought was very cool.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Do you want to talk about the bar fight real quick?
It's like some director. It's like, I love it. Like I like how he's like, what middle-aged white guy? Why? What makes you think he's a black thing? I thought that was cool. He did look like like every director I've seen that's worked, the white director that's worked in the hip hop world. I thought it was great. It was fun. Just another guy he asked, and they're really laying it on thick for how much Samurai is going to be violent when he finds out.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, he hit your girl, yeah, smack him.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's what that was there for. Plus, it's always nice to see him drive around with a shiner, and again, just to continue to put more pressure on your main character. So, but I definitely don't want to misrepresent how I feel about Samurai. I like it, and I think they're very funny together, and I like seeing Hank in that world.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely like a fish out of water. So I'm looking forward to more stuff. I hope it doesn't become like, I know we'll get into predictions. I hope it doesn't become, he's literally at gunpoint doing this. I like the idea of him being involved with them, just again for the whole fish out of water aspect.
I agree.
But I'm ready for next week.
All right. Well, speaking of next week, why don't if you have any last thoughts, why don't you go ahead and say them now? We'll go into commercial. We'll come back with some news, and then we'll do predictions. Does that sound good?
Yeah. No, let's go, because I wanna. I know there's a great news bite you have, and definitely predictions. I want to know what you think about where they're going to go with it.
All right, sounds good. Well, we'll be back right after this.
AfterBuzz TV. Hi, I was once like you, a lazy, angry loner whose only joy was watching TV and surfing the net. And, like you, after I'd see one of my favorite TV shows, I'd be so excited and have so many questions that I'd actually have to talk to my douchebag coworkers about it at the water cooler. Then I discovered AfterBuzzTV.com. AfterBuzz TV produces after-show webcasts and podcasts for TV series of all kinds, like post-game wrap-up shows for all your favorite TV shows. AfterBuzz TV hosts are industry insiders who break down episodes of shows, take calls from fans, and interview cast and crew from each series, with over 60 different after shows, from Boardwalk Empire to American Idol to Vampire Diaries to Real Housewives, and more. Now, after a night of TV, I can ignore my stupid coworkers, who I hate, and go straight to my desk and watch or listen to all my favorite AfterBuzz TV after shows, and have all the TV fan interaction I need. Thank you, AfterBuzz TV.
AfterBuzz TV. What do you want to buzz about?
Welcome back, guys. Before I get into the news and gossip, I did want to say to our fans that are listening and perhaps watching that starting tomorrow, all of our shows will stream live on AfterBuzzTV.com exclusively. We'll put up a thing on all the other sites saying, "Hey, go here." But if you can, spread the word. And in fact, you know what? That's all we want out of this venture that we're doing with AfterBuzzTV.com. We love TV. We love talking about it. We know you guys listening right now love listening to it. And so if you know fellow fans, whether coworkers, family members, friends, just random people in the street, I don't know, just tell them about AfterBuzz TV. You know, that's all we want. I'm sure they'll be glad that you did. Right, Kev?
Well, you know, it's funny. We work so hard at the network. We have, over 150 hosts, and of course our immediate staff. About a dozen people who just believe in this, who love doing it. We all love new media, and more than anything, we all love TV. And we're a great family, and we have a lot of fun, but at the same time, we're all working so hard. And many of us, I know, starting with you, Phil, who sets the pace, are working 7 days a week. The only day when our programming is on Saturday, and even on that day, we're catching up. We're sending out emails. We're working on the website, dealing with technical issues. We're building another stage in Studio A just this week, and yet for all of that, we don't ask for much. We don't even weigh the shows down with commercial content. We basically throw up a 1 or 2 minute commercial advertising our own product, and that's just basically so we can give our hosts a break. But we do all this, and we don't ask for anything in return other than for you to just tell your friends and your family and anyone else you could think of that might be interested in listening or watching. That's the biggest thing you guys can do to help us keep going. And, I don't know any other way to say it other than that, Phil, and how important that is to us, how much that would mean to us. And like you say, Phil, and if you don't, then you're not a very nice friend.
You're really not.
Right?
You're just not.
Because we're good friends to you. We're being good friends to you, and we'd like a little bit of that love in return. Anyway, that said, let's talk about the news.
Hold on one sec. This is the problem with hosting your own show while you're trying to engineer.
AfterBuzz TV News.
All right. Hold on one sec. Where's my news? Okay, so David Duchovny, you may be baffled to know, never actually thought about acting. He says, "I never even had the wayward thought. It never entered even my furthest reaches of imagination. However, here's how it actually did happen. He was at Yale University as a graduate student, And he wanted to write plays, ironically. And then the thought came into his mind, well, if I'm going to write words for people, I should probably learn how to, how that side of things works. And from then on, it kind of took off. He got his role on Twin Peaks, then Red Shoe Diaries, and then after that, obviously the big one was X-Files. He said, I was kind of blissfully overconfident at first, and I don't say that as a joke. I know I thought I was good, not great, not in a conceited or cocky way, but in like a, yes, I can do this. You need to believe in your own self kind of way sometimes. And so, it's a great article. It's on foxnews.com. So for those of you who want more, check it out. But I thought that was a really interesting little bit about him,
I think it's very interesting. For me, what stands out the most, Phil, is the fact that he's a Yale graduate.
Yeah, I mean, it's
to know that he's an Ivy League graduate. And, the older I get, the more, me coming out of a very small liberal arts college that, it's ranked pretty well for the size of the school it was. But the more I meet the kids from Wharton and Harvard and the Ivy League colleges, the more I see how intelligent they are, how hard they've worked to get to those places. And I know a lot of these cynics that say, I know kids who aren't that smart, they have family who got them in, that's fine. But the ones I've met haven't been. And, it makes a lot of sense that this guy would be able to do this. It makes sense to me because he does this role so well, but he feels like he understands not just Hank Moody, but Hank Moody to the point where he also understands Hank Moody's, the intelligent side of Hank Moody. How he is a really razor-witted writer.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like Duchovny gets it, and that's his intelligence. And again, just like Evan Hanlon said, it's just acting. Well, maybe it is, but I feel as though he's it makes sense. He's such a super smart guy that he can get this role and do this well in the role. So, and sometimes when I hear that, I have respect for the company, but then at the same time, as a filmmaker who works with a lot of actors, it's intimidating. Because for me, who I don't have that capacity. I don't think I would have ever. I didn't apply to Yale. I don't think I would have gotten in. So, my 2 cents.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think at the end of the day, anyone. I think a lot of these people, the reason why they're so good is because they have that thirst to do well, and that's why they, strive to find the best places out there. But anyway, that's kind of my 2 cents. I don't want to bore you with that thoughts. Anyway, so that is your AfterBuzz TV news and gossip for Californication week of January 15th. And without further ado, why don't we get into some awesome...
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Yes, indeed. And so a lot of... why don't we start with you, Kev? What are your thoughts on predictions?
Well, Samurai's got a gun to his head, so he's either pissed him off and insulted him in some way. He says something about Santa Monica, like it was almost like I don't know, it feels like Hank had a sarcastic remark and he got a gun pulled on him. But for all we know, he could be play acting a scene from this script. We don't know.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see. We know he's going to work with this guy, and we know the cute girlfriend is going to hit on him because that's just the Hank Moody way. And we know we're going to have problems with the boyfriend, Hank, as I'm calling him, Hank from the parallel universe.
Yeah,
evil Hank.
For me, I don't think it's too soon for Samurai and Hank to go fully at it. As you said, who knows what it could be. I'm reminded of the preview last week for this episode, and it was like it was the shot of Samurai yelling at Hank like, "Hey, you messing with my girlfriend?" And in the context of this episode, obviously it was just a joke, but from the preview last week, it was like, "Oh my God, they get into it immediately and whatnot." So I no longer. Knowing so much TV, I no longer buy that kind of stuff. I know it's probably just gonna get brushed aside or whatever. I can't wait to see what Runkle and that whole plot line has in store. I'm so excited to see the nanny now work for Stu and Marcy and Runkle, and just take care of this, like, I don't want to say demonic child, but like clearly this kid, I love the way he looks. It's like a Runkle Jr., and yet he's internally must be already starting to get messed up. He's 3.5 years old or whatever he is, and he's already masturbating in front of girls. So not going down a good path.
You're right, and he does kind of have a fun look to him.
He does.
Yeah, it seems like you see it seems like you see it as this is. They're very conscious of all this.
No, I mean, they absolutely are, and from listening to you, I certainly don't see all the stuff, and I don't claim to. So, it just makes doing this podcast with you, especially, and Stu from last season, really open up how great the writing really is. So, I mean, for me, I just enjoy the show and I love talking about it. But then when I think of that stuff, it's just really great. But anyways, thank you guys for listening. Kev, do you have anything that you want to add before we head on out of here?
No, I'm back in. Like the first episode, definitely was traumatic, but great writing. I'm sucked back in. I'm ready to go on for the ride, and yeah, I'm excited. Now you got me sucked in.
I know. Well, by the way,
now I'm sucked in.
By the way, are we for fans, are we ever going to do another field trip? We did a special segment last season where Kevin at least went off and lived the Hank Moody lifestyle.
I went to be Hank Moody at the strip club, but that's when he was dating a stripper. I don't know what we'd have to do. Go to Compton. Maybe we'll go to Compton and work with a rapper.
Oh, that doesn't sound as much fun. I figured we get women. No. I don't know if I want to go down that route. Well, anyway, guys, thank you for listening. Once again, all our shows starting tomorrow will be streamed on AfterBuzzTV.com, and from there, you can subscribe to any show you want, whether it's Californication, some of your other favorite shows, and just to see what all the shows that we do. And hey, we also have our schedule, so if you don't know when we air shows, now you'll know. So please, again, tell a friend, and let us know what you think. I'm sure you guys have thoughts of your own. We'd love to hear them. Maybe we can even share them on air, depending on time. And if you feel like calling in, I know we don't take a lot of calls, but the number is there, 424-256-1729. If we can get to calls, we'll certainly take them. Anyways, on behalf of Kevin and myself, thank you.
From producers Keven Undergaro and Phil Svitek, engineer DJ Jesse Janity, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. If you have questions or comments, be sure to buzz us at info@AfterBuzzTV.com. And you can find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.